The ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was called the Silent Dawn, and it belonged to a species known as the Valari. They were tall creatures with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Their bodies were thin, almost fragile-looking. They were not fighters. They were scientists and explorers. They searched the old parts of the galaxy for lost things from ancient times. Captain Toll stood on the bridge of his ship. He looked out at the field of broken metal and rock that floated all around them. This was an old battlefield. Something terrible had happened here many hundreds of years ago. Ships had been destroyed. Lives had been lost. Now there was only silence and death. "What do the scanners show?" Toll asked. His voice was calm but tired. They had been searching for days and found nothing useful. Rin, the chief scientist, looked at her screen. She was young for a Valari, curious and brave in ways that sometimes worried her captain. "Mostly just debris, Captain. Broken ship parts, some old weapons. But there is something strange." Toll turned to look at her. "Strange how?" "There is a power signature. Something is still running out there. After 400 years, something still has power." Rin's eyes were wide with excitement. "It is coming from a small object about 2,000 meters from our position." Toll thought about this. Power signatures in dead battlefields usually meant danger, old weapons, traps, things best left alone. But the Valari High Council had sent them here for a reason. They needed to find anything that could help their people survive. The Keth Dominion was coming. Everyone knew it. The Keth were brutal conquerors who swept across the galaxy taking what they wanted. They had already destroyed 3 Valari colonies. It was only a matter of time before they came for the homeworld. "Take us closer," Toll ordered. "Carefully." The Silent Dawn moved through the floating wreckage. Broken hull pieces scraped against their shields. Old bodies in ancient spacesuits drifted past the windows. Rin looked away from them. She did not like to think about what had happened here. They found the source of the power signature floating among the debris. It was a pod, a metal container about the size of a person covered in strange markings. Ice crystals covered its surface. Small lights blinked on its side, showing that it was still working. "What is that?" Neva asked. She was the ship's medic, older than Rin and much more careful. "I have never seen technology like this." Rin studied her readings. Her hands began to shake. "Captain, I think I know what this is. The markings on the side. They are from Earth." The bridge went silent. Every Valari knew about Earth. It was a legend, a warning. Humans had lived there long ago. They were a young species, violent and dangerous. The stories said they had destroyed themselves in a great war. Their planet was gone. Their people were extinct. But some stories said other things. Older Valari whispered about what humans could do. They talked about creatures that could fight in ways no other species could imagine. Warriors that felt no fear. Soldiers that were enhanced with technology built into their bodies. The humans had been frightening. The galaxy had been relieved when they were gone. "Impossible," Toll said. "The humans died 400 years ago." "This pod is 400 years old," Rin replied, "and the power signature matches human cryogenic technology. Captain, I think there is a human inside this pod. A living human, frozen and preserved." Toll felt cold fear run through his body. His first thought was to leave, push the pod away and never speak of this again. Humans were dangerous. Everyone knew that. But then he thought about the Keth. He thought about his people dying. He thought about the colonies that had burned. "Bring it aboard," he said quietly. Neva stepped forward. "Captain, this is not wise. If the stories are true..." "If the stories are true, then we have found something that might save us," Toll interrupted. "The Keth will find us eventually. We cannot run forever. Maybe this human can help." They brought the pod into the cargo bay. Rin and her team worked quickly, scanning it and trying to understand its systems. The pod was old, but incredibly advanced. The humans had built it to last. Inside, preserved in frozen sleep, was a man. He was not large by human standards, but he was solid. His body was covered in small scars. There were metal ports on his temples and along his spine. His face was calm, like he was just sleeping. "The files on the pod call him Kang Do-yun," Rin said, reading the data. "He was part of something called the Titan program, a super soldier project. His bones have been made stronger. His muscles have been enhanced. He has computers built into his brain." She looked up at Toll with wonder and fear in her eyes. "He was made for war." Before Toll could respond, the ship shook. Alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed across every screen. "Captain!" The navigation officer's voice was full of terror. "A ship just came out of faster-than-light travel! It is Keth! A Keth warship!" Toll ran to the main screen. His heart stopped. The Keth ship was massive. It was 5 times the size of the Silent Dawn. Its hull was covered in weapons. It was a ship built to destroy. "They are charging weapons," the officer said. "They are sending a message." The message played across the bridge. A Keth face appeared on screen. It was reptilian, with sharp teeth and small, cruel eyes. "Valari vessel, you will surrender. Your ship and crew now belong to the Keth Dominion. Resist and you will be destroyed." The transmission ended. Toll looked around at his crew. They were scientists, explorers. They had no weapons that could fight a Keth warship. They had no soldiers. They had nothing. Nothing except the frozen man in the cargo bay. "How long until they reach us?" Toll asked. "1 hour, Captain. Maybe less." Toll made his decision. It was crazy. It was dangerous. But it was the only chance they had. "Rin, wake the human." Rin stared at him. "Captain, the proper revival process takes days. If we rush it, we could kill him, or his mind could break. The trauma of rapid revival." "If we do not wake him, we all die anyway," Toll said. "Or worse, you know what the Keth do to prisoners. Wake him now. Use whatever methods you must. We need a soldier, and he is all we have." Rin looked at the pod, at the sleeping man inside. She thought about everything she had read about humans, the violence, the power, the fear they had caused across the galaxy. Then she thought about the Keth ship coming toward them. She thought about her friends, her crew, the people she loved. She began to work. The machines hummed as Rin disabled the safety systems. Warning messages flashed across her screen. The pod was designed to wake its passengers slowly and safely. She was about to break every rule it had. Neva stood beside her, preparing medical supplies. If this goes wrong, he could wake up insane. He could see us as enemies. He could kill us all before the Keth even arrive. "I know," Rin said. Her fingers moved across the controls. "But at least we would have tried." The pod began to warm. The ice on its surface started to melt. Inside, the frozen man's heartbeat grew stronger. His brain activity increased. After 400 years of sleep, Kang Do-yun was waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same. The pod made a loud hissing sound as the final locks released. Steam poured out from the sides. The glass cover began to rise. Rin stepped back, her heart beating fast. Neva held a medical scanner in one hand and a sedative in the other. Neither of them knew what would happen next. For a moment, nothing moved. The man inside lay still. His chest rose and fell with slow breaths. His eyes were closed. He looked peaceful, almost dead. Then everything happened at once. Kang Do-yun's eyes snapped open. They were dark brown, sharp, and completely aware. There was no confusion in them, no slow waking. One moment he was asleep. The next moment, he was a soldier. His hand shot out and grabbed Rin by the throat. He pulled her close, using her body as a shield while his eyes scanned the room. Every corner, every shadow, every possible threat. His grip was not tight enough to hurt her, but she could not escape. She could not even breathe properly. Neva raised the sedative. Do-yun's other hand caught her wrist before she could move. He twisted gently, and the sedative fell from her fingers. He had disabled 2 people in less than 2 seconds. He had not even stood up yet. "Status report," he said. His voice was rough from centuries of sleep, but the words were clear. "Location, enemy positions. Where is my unit?" The words came out in a language the Valari did not understand. Their translation devices struggled with it, old Korean mixed with military codes that no longer existed. Finally, the devices caught up. Rin tried to speak. "Please, we are not enemies." Do-yun looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the blue skin, the large eyes, the thin body that was clearly not built for fighting. He saw the fear on her face, real fear, not the fake fear of an enemy trying to trick him. Slowly, carefully, he released her throat. He let go of Neva's wrist. He sat up in the pod and looked around the cargo bay. Medical equipment, science tools, no weapons, no soldiers. "You are not human," he said. It was not a question. "No," Rin answered, rubbing her throat. "We are Valari. You are on our ship, the Silent Dawn." "I do not know that species." Do-yun's neural implants were searching his memory. Valari. He had never heard of them. "How long was I frozen?" Rin hesitated. She knew the answer would hurt. 400 years. Do-yun did not react. His face stayed perfectly still. But inside, something changed. 400 years. His family was dead. His friends were dead. His commanders, his unit, everyone he had ever known, gone. All of them gone. "Earth," he said quietly. "What happened to Earth?" This time, Neva answered. Her voice was gentle, like she was talking to a wounded animal. "We do not know the full story. The records are incomplete. But Earth is gone, destroyed in a great war. Humans are believed to be extinct. You may be the last one. The last human." Do-yun processed this information. His enhanced mind worked through the pain, putting it in a box, saving it for later. There would be time to grieve. There would be time to understand. But not now. Now there was something else. He could feel it. Something was wrong on this ship. "You woke me quickly," he said. "The safety systems were disabled." "That means you were desperate. What is happening?" Before Rin could answer, the ship shook again. The alarms were still screaming. Red lights still flashed. Captain Toll's voice came over the communication system. "Rin, is he awake? Is he alive?" "Yes, Captain, he is awake. He is talking to us." "Bring him to the bridge, now. The Keth ship will reach us in 40 minutes. Do-yun stood up from the pod. His legs were steady. His body responded perfectly despite 400 years of sleep. The Titan program had built him well. "Keth," he said, "another species I do not know. Explain while we walk." They moved through the corridors of the Silent Dawn. Rin talked quickly, explaining everything. The Valari were a peaceful species, scientists and explorers. They had no army, no real weapons. The Keth Dominion was a growing empire of conquerors. They took what they wanted. They killed anyone who resisted. They had been attacking Valari colonies for months. "This ship cannot fight them," Rin said. "We cannot run fast enough to escape. In 40 minutes, they will board us. They will kill the males. The females will be taken as slaves. This is what the Keth do." Do-yun listened without expression. His mind was working, calculating, planning. "How many Keth soldiers on their ship?" "We do not know exactly. Maybe 200. For a boarding action, they will send 20 or 30. "Their weapons?" "Energy rifles, plasma blades, powered armor that makes them very strong." "Your weapons?" Rin looked down. "Stun guns, defensive tools. We were not built for war." They reached the bridge. Captain Toll turned to face the human. He was taller than Do-hyun, but somehow the human seemed larger. There was something in his eyes, something old and hard and dangerous. "I am Captain Toll. I apologize for waking you this way. We had no choice." "You had a choice," Do-hyun said. "You chose to fight instead of die. That was the right choice." He looked at the main screen where the Keth ship was shown. It was huge and ugly and covered in weapons. "Tell me about these Keth. What do they look like? How do they think?" Toll showed him images. The Keth were large reptilian creatures. Their bodies were covered in scales. They had sharp claws and sharper teeth. They were strong and brutal, and they enjoyed causing pain. "They fight with overwhelming force," Toll explained. "They do not use tactics. They do not need to. They are bigger and stronger than almost every species they meet. They simply crush their enemies." "Arrogant," Do-hyun said quietly. "Good. Arrogance makes them predictable." "You think you can fight them?" Neva asked. She did not hide her doubt. "One human against 30 Keth soldiers in powered armor?" Do-hyun looked at her. For the first time, something like a smile crossed his face. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a wolf seeing sheep. "I was created for exactly this purpose," he said. "The Titan program made soldiers who could fight against impossible odds. We were trained to face enemies who were stronger, faster, and more numerous. We learned to use their strengths against them." He turned back to the screen. "One human against 30 Keth. Those are better odds than some battles I have fought." Toll felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. Hope. After months of fear, after watching his colonies burn, he felt hope. "What do you need?" Toll asked. "Show me your ship's layout. Every corridor, every room, every maintenance shaft. Show me your armory. I know you said you have no real weapons, but I can work with anything." Do-hyun's eyes were already scanning the ship's blueprints. "And tell me how these Keth board a ship. Where do they enter? How do they move?" The crew of the Silent Dawn began to work. They showed Do-hyun everything he asked for. They answered his questions. They watched as his enhanced mind processed information faster than any of them could follow. 30 minutes until the Keth arrived. In the armory, Do-hyun looked at the Valari weapons, stun guns, energy shields, scientific equipment. It was not much, but he had worked with less. "The Keth expect frightened scientists," he said, picking up tools and examining them. "They expect easy prey. They will come in confident and careless. That is their mistake." He began to take things apart, rebuilding them into something new. "When I was trained, my instructors taught me that the most dangerous weapon is not a gun or a bomb. It is surprise. The enemy who does not know what is coming cannot defend against it." Rin watched him work. His hands moved with impossible speed and precision. "What are you building?" "Traps, distractions, tools to even the odds." Do-hyun looked up at her. His eyes were cold, but not cruel. "Your people should hide. Find the safest part of the ship and seal yourselves inside. What I am about to do is not something you should see." "What are you about to do?" Do-hyun finished assembling a device. He tested it once, nodded with satisfaction, and began on the next one. "I am going to remind the galaxy why they were afraid of humans." The Keth boarding pod hit the Silent Dawn like a fist. Metal screamed as the pod cut through the hull. Emergency shields activated, sealing the breach. The Valari crew huddled in the medical bay, the most protected part of the ship. They watched the security feeds with wide, frightened eyes. 24 Keth soldiers poured out of the boarding pod. They were massive. Each one stood over 7 feet tall. Their scaled bodies were covered in powered armor that hummed with energy. They carried plasma rifles and energy blades. Their leader was even larger, with red marks painted on his armor. "Find them," the leader growled. "Kill the males. Capture the females. This will be quick. The Keth spread out through the corridors. They moved with confidence. They had done this many times before. Valari ships were always easy targets. No resistance, no danger, just screaming prey. The first Keth team of 4 soldiers moved toward the engine room. They walked in a loose formation, not expecting trouble. Why would they? This was just another weak science vessel. The lights went out. One soldier stumbled. What happened? Power failure, another said. These Valari ships are old. Keep moving. They activated the lights on their helmets. The beams cut through the darkness. They could see the corridor ahead. Empty and silent. None of them looked up. Kang Do-hyun dropped from the ceiling like a shadow. He landed on the rear soldier, driving a modified energy blade into the weak point between helmet and armor. The Keth died before he knew he was attacked. The soldier in front turned at the sound. Do-hyun was already moving. He grabbed the turning soldier's rifle, twisted it, and used the Keth's own strength against him. The rifle fired into the third soldier's chest. Then Do-hyun was past them, sliding under the fourth soldier's wild swing and cutting the power cables on his armor. The armor locked up, freezing the Keth in place. Do-hyun finished him quickly, and then dealt with the one who had shot his companion. 7 seconds. 4 soldiers. No alarm. In the medical bay, Rin watched the security feed. Her hands were shaking. How is that possible? They are so much bigger than him. Captain Toll could not answer. He had never seen anything like this. The human moved like water flowing around attacks, finding every weakness. The Keth were strong, but strength meant nothing if you could not hit your target. The second Keth team found the bodies. The lead soldier stared at his dead companions. His scales rippled with anger and confusion. What killed them? There are no soldiers on this ship. Contact the other teams, he ordered. Something is wrong. He reached for his communication device. It did not work. None of their devices worked. The human had done something to the ship's systems, creating interference that blocked Keth communications. They were alone. Stay together, the team leader said. Move slowly. Check every corner. They moved forward carefully now. 6 soldiers in tight formation, watching every direction. They were learning, adapting, but they were still thinking like Keth. They expected a fight, a battle, something they could see and crush. They did not expect the floor to open beneath them. Do-hyun had found the maintenance hatches. He had rigged them to open on his signal. 3 Keth fell into the lower deck, crashing hard. Before they could recover, Do-hyun sealed the hatches above them and vented the atmosphere. They pounded on the metal, screaming, but there was no one to hear. The remaining 3 soldiers panicked. They fired their weapons at shadows. Plasma bolts burned holes in the walls. One soldier hit another by accident, the shot burning through armor and flesh. Do-hyun appeared behind the last 2. He had learned their armor's design, found its weaknesses. 2 quick strikes to the power units on their backs. The armor died. Then so did they. In the command center, the Keth leader was getting worried. He had lost contact with half his soldiers. The ship was dark and silent. This was not how raids were supposed to go. Commander Vorak, one of his officers said. Something is hunting us. Nothing hunts the Keth, Vorak growled. But even he felt something cold in his stomach. Fear. He had not felt fear in many years. All soldiers return to the boarding pod, he ordered through his helmet. We regroup and advance together. Only 8 soldiers made it back. 8 out of 24. They stood in a circle around Vorak, weapons ready, eyes searching the darkness. What is out there? One soldier asked. His voice was shaking. What is killing us? The answer came from the shadows. I am. Kang Do-hyun stepped into the light. He was covered in blood, but none of it was his. He held a plasma rifle he had taken from a fallen Keth. His eyes were cold and steady. Vorak stared at him. This small creature had killed 16 of his soldiers. This soft, weak-looking thing had turned his warriors into prey. "What are you?" Vorak demanded. "I am human." Vorak's scales went pale. He knew the stories. Every species knew the stories. Humans were supposed to be extinct, dead and gone, a nightmare from the past that the galaxy had survived. "Impossible! Humans are dead." "Your soldiers thought so too." Do-hyun raised the rifle. They were wrong. The Keth attacked, all 8 of them at once, firing plasma and charging with blades. It should have been overwhelming. It should have been the end. Do-hyun moved. He was not faster than them. He was not stronger, but he was smarter. He knew where they would attack before they did. He positioned himself so they blocked each other's shots. He used their size against them, making them collide and stumble. The fight lasted less than 2 minutes. When it was over, 7 Keth lay dead on the floor. Only Vorak remained, his armor broken, his weapons gone. Do-hyun stood over him, the plasma rifle aimed at his head. "Please," Vorak begged. The great Keth commander, the terror of 100 worlds, was begging. "Please do not kill me." Do-hyun looked at him. He thought about the Valari colonies that had burned. He thought about the slaves that had been taken. He thought about all the pain this creature had caused. Part of him wanted to kill Vorak. It would be easy. It would be justice. But Do-hyun was not just a killer. He was a soldier, and soldiers understood that sometimes mercy was more powerful than death. "Go back to your ship," Do-hyun said. "Leave this system. Go back to your dominion and tell them what happened here." Vorak looked up, confused. "You are letting me live. I am giving you a message to deliver." Do-hyun leaned close. "Tell your leaders that the humans are not extinct. Tell them that we are waking up. Tell them that if they continue to hurt innocent people, we will come for them. Every world they threaten, every colony they attack. We will be there, and we will do to them what I did to your soldiers today." Vorak scrambled to his feet. He ran to the boarding pod, not looking back. The pod detached from the Silent Dawn and flew back to the Keth warship. Do-hyun watched it go. His body ached, his muscles burned. Even with his enhancements, fighting 24 Keth alone had pushed him to his limits. But he was alive, and the people he protected were safe. The lights came back on. The Valari crew emerged from the medical bay. They walked through the corridors, stepping around Keth bodies, staring in wonder and horror. Rin found Do-hyun sitting against a wall. He was cleaning the blood from his hands. She sat down next to him, not sure what to say. "Thank you," she finally managed. "You saved us." Do-hyun did not look at her. "It is what I was made for." On the main screen, they watched the Keth warship turn and retreat. It jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared. The hunters had become the hunted, and they were running home to spread the word. A human was awake. And the galaxy would never feel safe again. Captain Toll approached Do-hyun. The captain's legs were weak. He had to hold the wall to stay standing. "I have served on ships for 30 years. I have seen many things. I have never seen anything like you." Do-hyun finally looked up. "Your people are peaceful. That is not a weakness. The galaxy needs species like the Valari, scientists, explorers, dreamers." He stood slowly, his muscles protesting. "But the galaxy also needs people like me. People who can stand between the dreamers and the monsters." "What will you do now?" Toll asked. Do-hyun looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were other Titan soldiers, other pods, other humans who had been hidden away during the final war. If he could find them, if he could wake them. "Now," he said quietly, "I find out what really happened to my people." 3 days had passed since the battle. The Silent Dawn drifted through quiet space while the crew made repairs. The Keth bodies had been removed. The damaged sections had been sealed. Life was slowly returning to normal. But for Kang Do-yun, nothing would ever be normal again. He sat alone in a small room that Rin had given him. The walls were covered with holographic screens showing data. Old files, ancient records, everything the Velari had collected about Earth and humanity over the centuries. Most of it was wrong. The official galactic history said humans destroyed themselves, a violent species that built weapons too powerful to control. They burned their own planet and died in the flames. Good riddance, the history said. The galaxy was better without them. But Do-yun was finding a different story. The data was broken, fragmented. 400 years of decay had damaged most records. But pieces remained, pieces that told a terrifying truth. "You have not eaten today?" Do-yun looked up. Rin stood in the doorway, holding a tray of food. She looked worried. Everyone on the ship looked at him with a mix of respect and fear now. They had seen what he could do. They did not know how to feel about it. "I am not hungry," Do-yun said. "Your body needs fuel. Even enhanced bodies need food." Rin walked in and set the tray beside him. She looked at the screens. "What are you searching for?" "The truth." Do-yun pointed at one of the displays. "This is the official record. Humanity destroyed itself. But look at this." He brought up another file. "This is a transmission from a human ship. It was sent just before Earth went dark. They are not talking about civil war. They are talking about an enemy. Something that came from outside." Rin studied the transmission. It was heavily damaged, full of static and missing sections. But she could make out some words. "They came without warning. Billions dead in the first hour. We cannot stop them. Titan Protocol activated." "Titan Protocol," Do-yun said quietly. "That was us, the super soldiers. When everything else failed, they activated us." "What were you supposed to do?" Do-yun closed his eyes. He remembered the briefing before they put him in the pod, the fear on his commanders' faces, the desperation in their voices. "We were supposed to be hidden, scattered across the galaxy in hidden locations. If humanity fell, we would be the seeds of a new beginning. We would wake up and rebuild, but you did not rebuild. You did not wake up." "No, something went wrong. The signal that was supposed to wake us never came." Do-yun opened his eyes. "Until now, until you found me." Rin sat down across from him. "What do you think happened to the other Titan soldiers?" "I do not know. Maybe their pods failed. Maybe they were found and destroyed. Maybe they are still out there, waiting." He looked at her with something almost like hope. "I have to find out. There might be others like me, other humans who survived." Before Rin could respond, Captain Toll's voice came over the communication system. "Rin, Do-yun, please come to the bridge. We have received a transmission from the Velari High Council." They walked to the bridge together. The crew stepped aside as Do-yun passed. Some of them nodded respectfully. Others could not meet his eyes. He understood. He was a reminder that violence existed in the universe, and sometimes violence was necessary. On the main screen, an older Velari appeared. He wore ceremonial robes and carried himself with authority. His name was Elder Yan, and he led the Velari High Council. "Captain Toll," Elder Yan said, "we have received your report about the incident with the Keth. We have also received a report from the Keth Dominion themselves." Toll bowed his head. "Elder, I can explain." "The Keth are furious," Elder Yan interrupted. "They say you killed 23 of their soldiers. They say you harbor a dangerous creature from an extinct species. They are demanding that we surrender this creature to them." "His name is Kang Do-yun," Rin said sharply. "And he saved our lives." Elder Yan looked at her with cold eyes. "I am sure he did. But the Keth are threatening war. They say if we do not hand over the human, they will destroy every Velari colony. They will burn our homeworld. Is one human worth the lives of our entire species? The bridge was silent. Everyone looked at Do-hyun. He stood calmly, showing no emotion, but inside he felt something heavy settle in his chest. This was familiar. He had seen this before. During the final war, there had been politicians who wanted to surrender, who thought they could negotiate with the enemy, who were willing to sacrifice soldiers to save themselves. "What is your decision, Elder?" Toll asked carefully. "Bring the human to our homeworld. We will discuss his situation with the Keth ambassadors." The transmission ended. Toll turned to look at Do-hyun. His face was full of shame. "I am sorry. The council is afraid. They do not understand what you did for us." "They understand perfectly," Do-hyun said. "They are choosing the survival of the many over the survival of one. It is a reasonable choice." "It is a cowardly choice," Rin said angrily. "After you saved us, they want to hand you over to the Keth?" "The Keth will not honor any agreement," Do-hyun said quietly. "They do not negotiate. They do not keep promises. If your council gives me to them, the Keth will simply take me and then attack anyway. They will see the Velari as weak and easy prey." Neva stepped forward. "How do you know this?" "Because I have seen species like the Keth before. Predators understand only strength. If you show weakness, they attack. If you show strength, they respect you." Do-hyun looked at the screen where Elder Yan had appeared. "Your council is about to make a terrible mistake." Toll walked to his captain's chair and sat down heavily. "What can we do? I cannot disobey the council." "I am not asking you to." Do-hyun began to walk toward the door. "Set course for your homeworld. Deliver me as ordered." Rin grabbed his arm. "What? No. They will give you to the Keth." "They will try." Do-hyun looked at her. For a moment his cold mask slipped, and she saw something underneath. Pain. Loneliness. 400 years of loss. "But I will not be there when they do." He gently removed her hand and walked out of the bridge. That night, Do-hyun worked alone in the cargo bay. He had asked for access to a small shuttle. Toll had given it to him without questions. The captain knew what was happening. He was choosing to not see it. Rin found him loading supplies into the shuttle, medical equipment, food, a few weapons he had built from Velari tools. "Where will you go?" she asked. "I found something in the old records. Coordinates, possible locations of other Titan pods." Do-hyun sealed a container and loaded it. "Some are probably empty, some may have failed. But if even one other soldier survived, I need to find them." "You will be alone out there. No support, no backup. The Keth will be hunting you." "I have been alone before." Do-hyun stopped working and faced her. "Your people are not ready for war, Rin. You should not have to be. Species like the Velari make the galaxy worth saving." He reached out and touched her shoulder gently. "But species like mine make sure there is a galaxy left to save." Rin felt tears in her eyes. She had known this human for only 3 days. In that time, he had saved her life, shown her horrors she never imagined, and given her hope she never expected. "The council is wrong about you," she said. "I want you to know that. Not all Velari think like them." "I know." Do-hyun almost smiled. "You are proof of that." He climbed into the shuttle. The engines hummed to life. Through the window, he saw Rin standing in the cargo bay, watching him go. "Do-hyun," she called. "If you find others, if you build something new, will you come back?" He looked at her for a long moment. "If there is a galaxy left to come back to, I will find you again." The cargo bay doors opened. The shuttle lifted off and flew out into the darkness of space. Do-hyun set course for the first coordinates on his list. A distant system where a Titan pod might still be waiting. Behind him, the silent dawn grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared into the stars. He was alone again. The last human, the last soldier. flying into unknown space with nothing but hope and will. But he had been alone before. He had faced impossible odds before, and he had survived. Whatever was out there, whatever had really happened to humanity, he would find the truth. And if there were others like him, if any seeds of humanity still remained scattered across the galaxy, he would find them too. The universe thought humans were extinct. Kang Do-yun was about to prove them wrong. 2 weeks passed. Kang Do-yun traveled from system to system, following the fragmented coordinates from the old records. Most locations were empty. Some showed signs that pods had been there once, but they were gone now, taken by scavengers, lost to time. Hope faded with each empty site. Then he found the first one. It was hidden in an asteroid field in a system with no name. The pod was buried deep inside a hollow rock, protected from scanners and searches. And inside the pod, frozen and waiting, was another Titan soldier. Her name was Yuna. She had been part of a different unit, deployed to a different sector. When Do-yun woke her, she grabbed his throat just like he had grabbed Rin. When she learned the truth, she cried for 3 hours straight. They found 2 more in the next month. Jimin, a weapons specialist who had been frozen even longer than Do-yun. Hana, a field medic whose pod had malfunctioned and nearly killed her. 4 humans, 4 soldiers. More than anyone had thought possible. Each time, Do-hyun told them the same thing. Earth was gone. Humanity was believed extinct. But they were still here, and they had work to do. Meanwhile, the galaxy was changing. News of the Keth defeat on the Silent Dawn had spread. The story grew with each telling. A single human had killed 24 Keth soldiers. A creature from an extinct species had humiliated the mighty Dominion. Some people did not believe it. Others were afraid to believe it. But everyone was talking about it. The Keth were furious. They sent hunter ships to find the human. They threatened any species that might help him. They demanded answers from the Valari Council, but the Council had no answers to give. The human had escaped, and no one knew where he had gone. Rin knew. She had received a secret transmission from Do-yun, telling her he was alive and searching. She kept the message hidden. She told no one. But she watched the stars every night, wondering where he was. On a small moon at the edge of known space, the 4 Titan soldiers gathered. They had found an abandoned station and made it their base. It was not much, but it was theirs. "So what do we do now?" Jimin asked. He was sitting on a crate, cleaning a weapon he had built from scraps. 4 soldiers against an entire empire? Those are not good odds even for Titans. "We do not fight the Keth directly," Do-hyun said. "Not yet. They are too strong. We would lose." Hana looked up from her medical equipment. "Then what is your plan?" Do-hyun walked to a window and looked out at the stars. "When I was on the Valari ship, I saw something. Rin and her people were scared, but they were also brave. They just needed someone to show them that fighting was possible, that the Keth could be beaten." "You want to inspire them?" Yuna asked. "You think hope will defeat the Dominion?" "I think hope is where everything starts." Do-yun turned to face his fellow soldiers. "The Keth control the galaxy through fear. They make everyone believe resistance is impossible. But what if that changed? What if species across the galaxy saw that the Keth could lose? What if they had someone to rally behind?" Jimin stopped cleaning his weapon. "You want to become a symbol." "I want us to become a symbol. Humans were feared once. Our enemies saw us as monsters. But we can be something else. We can be proof that even the smallest force can stand against tyranny. We can show the galaxy that the night is not endless." The other Titans looked at each other. They had been soldiers following orders their entire lives. Now they were being asked to be something more. Leaders, icons, the face of a rebellion that did not exist yet. "How do we start?" Hana asked. Do-hyun had already thought about this. He had spent long nights planning while the others slept. "We send a message. A broadcast across every frequency. to every species, in every language. We tell them who we are, we tell them what we stand for, and we invite them to stand with us. That will make us targets, Una said. Everyone will know we exist. The Keth will come for us with everything they have. Yes, they will. And when they do, we will show the galaxy how to fight back. They worked for 3 days preparing the broadcast. Hannah handled the medical information, explaining how human bodies were enhanced. Jimin prepared demonstrations of their weapons and tactics. Una worked on the technical systems, making sure the message would reach as far as possible. Do-Yun wrote the words he would speak. When everything was ready, they gathered in the communication room. The 4 last humans stood together. They did not know if their message would change anything. They did not know if anyone would listen, but they knew they had to try. Ready? Do-Yun asked. The others nodded. Una activated the broadcast. A red light blinked on, showing they were transmitting. Do-Yun looked into the camera and began to speak. My name is Kang Do-Hyun. I am a soldier of Earth. 400 years ago, my world was destroyed. My people were killed. For centuries, humans were believed to be extinct. But we are not gone. We are still here. He paused, letting the words sink in across 1,000 worlds. I am speaking to every species living under the shadow of the Keith Dominion. I am speaking to everyone who has lost their home, their family, their hope. I know your pain. I have felt it myself. I woke up to find everything I loved was gone. Jimin stepped forward, and the camera showed them standing together. 4 soldiers, 4 survivors. But I am not alone, Do-Yun continued. Other humans survived. We found each other, and now we stand together, ready to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. On the Valari homeworld, Rin watched the broadcast with tears streaming down her face. Around her, other Valari watched in silence. Even the council members had stopped to see. The Keth believe they own the galaxy. They believe that strength is the only law. They believe that fear will keep everyone obedient forever. Do-Hyun's voice was hard as steel. They are wrong. Strength is not just muscle and weapons. Strength is standing up when everyone tells you to stay down. Strength is hoping when everyone says hope is foolish. On occupied worlds across Keth space, slaves looked up at screens they were not supposed to be watching. Resistance fighters in hidden bunkers gathered around old radios. Species who had surrendered years ago felt something stir in their hearts. To the Keth Dominion, I say this: your time is ending. You built your empire on terror, and terror does not last forever. Every species you have crushed remembers what freedom felt like. Every world you have burned still has children who dream of a better future. You cannot kill hope. You can only delay it. Hannah stepped forward to speak. Her voice was gentler than Do-Hyun's, but no less strong. We are not saviors. We cannot free you by ourselves, but we can show you the way. We can prove that the Keth can be beaten, and when you are ready to fight, we will fight beside you. Una finished the message. This broadcast contains coordinates. If you want to resist, if you want to fight, come find us. We do not care what species you are. We do not care how weak you think you are. Everyone who wants freedom has a place with us. Do-Hyun spoke the final words. Humanity was supposed to die 400 years ago, but we are still here, and we will not stop until every being in this galaxy can live without fear. This is our promise. This is our purpose. Humanity remembers. The broadcast ended. The red light turned off. For a long moment, nothing happened. The 4 Titans stood in silence, wondering if anyone had heard, if anyone cared. Then Una's console began to beep, and beep again, and again. What is that? Jimin asked. Una's eyes went wide. Responses. We are receiving responses. She looked up at the others with disbelief on her face. From everywhere, Hundreds of messages, thousands. They are still coming. Across the galaxy, something was awakening. Species who had given up began to hope again. Resistance cells that had been hiding started to move. People who had never thought about fighting began to ask questions, and deep in the forgotten corners of space, in hidden asteroids and abandoned stations, other cryopods began to activate. Old signals triggered by Do-Yun's broadcast were waking the remaining Titan soldiers. One by one, they opened their eyes. Humanity was rising. The Keth had hunted a relic from an extinct species. They thought they would find an easy target. Instead, they woke something far more dangerous than one soldier. They woke a movement. They woke a revolution. They woke humanity's spirit. And now, nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.